If you have been following my video series, then you are already familiar with how to use some of the uh, better features of Microsoft Word for collaborative editing, where you're giving instructions to other people, specifically your web designers. When you're giving instructions to your web designers, as well as giving instructions under any situation, the use of pictures and screenshots can really benefit the quality of your communication. There's a reason why everybody is always telling us that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So today I'm going to show you how to use a very simple image editing program, and I'm going to show you how not only to take pictures and edit them, crop them, work with them, but also how to put them in to a well-formatted technical document for your tech team, so that you only have to tell them once, and when you deliver your concept, it is so clearly defined that they're not going to screw it up. You speak once, you get exactly what you expected. We'll start out by visiting BuyTerracottaWarriors.com. That's one of the company websites we're working on right now. And the simple image editing program that we're going to use is Paintshop Pro. This program is so old that if you Google it, you can actually very easily find versions that are free. Because it's old, that's actually it's actually a benefit that it's old, because that means we're working with absolute simplicity. And I know that a lot of people are afraid of working with images because they fear that they just don't have that as a talent or as an ability. And over the next maybe 20 minutes, I'm going to show you how absolutely simple and effortless this can be, and how you can get good results. So we'll start out just with our program open, and we're going to go to File, Import, Screen Capture, Setup. And for myself, these are the settings that I like to use. Full screen, and then I like to activate using a hotkey. I set that to F12. For yourself, you can use whatever you want. If you have a lot of issues, then just try using the delay timer. That's the most foolproof setup that you can use. And then for options, I like to include my cursor and also enable multiple captures, so I can continue to press my hotkey and take several screenshots in one go. So my capture setup is good. Next, I'm going to go File, Import, Screen Capture, Start. And as soon as I do that, the program minimizes itself, and now it's waiting for me to find something that I would like to take a picture of. And I think that perhaps a good thing to take a picture of right now and talk about that can be improved is this flash object right over here, because this flash object is just giving me a few words and some pictures, and the words really aren't all that compelling. They don't make me want to buy anything. And as I've been talking, I've been pressing my hotkey, and so now I have several images. And to start off with, I want to just isolate the part of what's visible that I want to talk about. So all I do in order to accomplish that is just highlight an area, have it selected, and then press Shift R. However, if you don't like remembering shortcuts, then just remember this. Select the area that you want. Go to Image. Actually, let's take a super simple approach. We're not even going to crop. We're just going to copy. So we go Edit, Copy, then Edit, Paste as a new image. That gives us the same result. And ultimately, what I want to do is take all of my images and then put them into a change request. And my change request is going to be inside of a Word document. And just now, all I did was select and then Control-C to copy. And so that part of the image is now in memory. And now I'm going to open up a Word document. And I'll just paste with Control-V or edit, oops. Or just copy inside of the graphics program, go to Word, and then find Paste and select that. They've simplified the interface so much in 2010 that it's actually hard to find regular functions for me. I'm used to a little bit more complex interface than this. Alright, let's get back to our pictures. Control-A will select everything. Control-C, copy. And we'll paste. Control-X to cut. Control-V to paste. I'm going to put these images in order so it goes from 1 to 4 on these slides. Don't need that image anymore, so I'll just close it. To change the zoom on your picture, you can just use your scroll wheel on your mouse. That function is the same for almost every single image editing program out there. During my presentation, I'm going to try and not do anything tricky or anything that only belongs in one single program. I'm going to make this as universal as possible because we all have our own choices and preferences on what we like best. Okay, so now I've got these 4 images in here. And we haven't done anything too complex yet, but later on I'm going to show you how to do some things such as adding words to pictures and then combining 2 pictures. At this point, I'm just showing how simple it is to put pictures into a document. And of course, these have been cropped or resized a little bit so that we're very focused on exactly what we're talking about. And that allows us to use very simple language and be understood easily. So we can say, hey, see this picture here? This guy should have a smile. And we begin to add some technical details, such as perhaps the words should be different. And at this point, I'm going to give you a tip. When you are defining language changes for a website, always use double quotation marks. Your programmer sees double quotation marks as a special signal to him. That lets him know that what you're talking about is text, and it should stay absolutely perfect. There's no room for interpretation if something is in double quotation marks. He should say, "Welcome to my website. Blah, blah, blah." And because there's no room for interpretation, I'm going to get exactly what I just told my programmer because it was in double quotations. Blah, blah, blah. That's exactly what he's going to put into this image if he adjusts the image. The value of using the double quotations comes in when you start to add carriage returns, like "Welcome to my website, return, what is your name?" And because this is inside of double quotation marks, my technician or web developer is going to know that yes, there absolutely must be a carriage return here and here, so it looks exactly like what I've typed. Note that I've also indented the details. So what I'm doing here is identifying what needs to be changed just with a picture, and then I'm also identifying what I'm talking about through my indentation. So for example, if I have some text that's no longer indented, and now we have this, it's clear to whoever I'm communicating with that this and this go together because of the indentation. And this would be a child of this. This is a child of this. Maintaining parent-child relationships and good formatting techniques becomes really important when you have like a 100-page document. And you might be thinking to yourself right now, a 100-page document, that would never happen. But now I've loaded up the document that I used when I provided my first change request for this website. And this document is 39 pages long. And in this same document, I do talk about the Flash object and how it should change. And actually, what I suggested to my tech team was the following. Take this guy, isolate him as a single frame, make him move back and forth, and after each time that he moves, either to the right or to the left, provide some text. Now it looks like this guy is talking to our visitor. And so he's going to talk about the ancient terracotta warriors in China and build some value for the product. The value is particularly focused on the culture, tradition, ancient, and yada yada. Next, I gave some details about the menu, and at the time, if you went to the website and you put your pointer over one of the links for a product, you would see nothing. You just saw a little pointing hand. That was it. I thought, well, you know what? It would be great if we had a little window pop up to give some additional details. Just a little preview with a few bullet points. And so I defined that. And when I defined that, I used a picture, because by using a picture, the team is going to understand exactly what I want, and the first time that they try, they're going to get it right. There's almost no room for misinterpretation when you're using pictures. And just for fun, I'm going to show you how I came up with this image. And we're going to do a little work in Paintshop Pro. So we will visit the website. And take a screenshot of the navigational menu. Next, let's resize. We're going to zoom in a little bit. And at this point, this time is to start learning a little bit about working with Paintshop type programs. On my left-hand side, I have what one would call a palette. And I can select different materials or choices for what I'm going to do. Like right over here is my selection tool, which allows me to select an area and then click and drag, or select an area and then resize to that if I want. The most common tools that people use when they're first learning how to work with images is the text tool, shapes, and your paintbrush. And so I'm going to show how to use all of those. Paintbrush is really simple. You select that thing, and this is a left click right now, just dragging as I go. And you'll notice that that color coordinates with this over here. This is my foreground color that came up by default, and my background color. Now if I right click intuitively, just as expected, I get my background color. Control Z is a shortcut for undo. And as long as I am on a tool such as a pen or a paintbrush, I can hold down Control, and you'll notice if you look really closely, I got this on max resolution. You're watching this in HD mode. My little icon changes from looking like a paintbrush to looking like a dropper. And I can either right click or left click to load a color into my foreground or my background. For example, foreground. See how that updated? Next we'll update the background. Background. That updated. You can also just do a left click over here and then pick from this palette. That's the best way to go if you want to get standard colors that are perfect. But what I want to do is do a right click over here. I'm holding down Control, so it updated with my dropper tool. Now I'm going to go to my selection tool, and I want this to just be gone. So I select and then I hold down Delete. And that was not the color that I expected, actually. Let's try that again. Okay, what just happened to me is that I switched tools, and this here did not have a check mark in it. And so my colors weren't being collaborated between my tools automatically. They weren't staying updated. So I'm just going to go through that same process I did right click, dropper, then selection tool. You'll notice my background has stayed consistent this time. It didn't switch to blue. And now, hold down the delete key. And I got this. Now I'm ready to continue drawing. And as my next step, I'm going to go to the preset shape tool. Click over here on the shape list, and this is a shape that I want. I'm going to make a rounded rectangle, and let's just see what happens. Click, drag, release, and I get this. This looks just about perfect. And to better make an example of what's happening, I'm going to change my colors here. Click, drag, release. My border color is my foreground, and then my fill color is yellow. And that's actually not what I want, right? So I'm going to go over here and click on this to make it transparent. Now if I draw this again, there is no fill color. That's been set to transparent. Control, left click, loading my palette with a color. Going back to my shape tool. Click, drag, release. And now, if I hold down Shift, I can move this around and have this at pixel perfect precision. And whenever I'm giving pictures to my tech team, it's not important to be pixel perfect, but I try to make it as perfect as I can because I'm working with foreigners, and they have different standards for quality than I do myself. And as a manager, I know that now I am setting the standards for quality. So whatever I do, they're going to follow, and they're not going to do it in any higher quality unless I specify that. Or unless the example that I give was higher quality to begin with. So I always make high quality examples, and so should you. It's a useful thing to do. When you're working with graphics, there are certain terms that you will become familiar with. One is vector and raster. And what I just put out here onto my picture is a vector object. And what that means is that I can change it. I can change the size of it. The best way to make a demonstration of exactly what is meant by a vector object is to put out some text and then resize that text. I can drag it this way, that way. I can do funky stuff like that with it. If something is a raster graphics or is a raster object, then that means you can't really change it. It's fixed. And over here in my layers palette, you'll see that I have one raster and one vector. And later on, this will update and it will show background. And that's useful for if I want to make some changes. Like here I'm on my raster layer or my background. And now I want to go back to my text. So go back to vector. Actually, I hadn't applied my text. Here we go. So there's my text. And I can pick my background if I want just by double clicking on it. And now I can make some changes to that. And now if I want to go back to my vector layer, I just double click it over here. And now I'm able to interact with this and move it around again. And really good graphic artists will work with as many as 20 or more layers in every image. But they're doing crazy stuff. So the most layers that we are ever going to work with is maybe 2 or 3. And once we're happy with everything, the most layers that we will work with is maybe 2 or 3 layers. And once we are done with our image, we're going to save it in a format that won't save the layers anyway. Everything will get pushed down into one layer. And in this document, in this program, if you ever start to have issues that are layer related, you can't select what you want to select, just go over to the Layers menu, select Merge, and then Merge All, Flatten. The moment I do that, everything in the layer palette disappears, and then I'm only given one option here, which is the background. So everything has been flattened or merged. Okay, let's get back to where we were. Left click, load the palette, shape tool, click, drag, release. Oh, that wasn't what I expected. I need to swap my materials by clicking over here. See that? Load my palette, shape tool, and now we have something that looks a little bit like a menu. Except I think that what I want to do is have a black border and have that other color as my fill. Click, drag, release, and there we go. Looking good. And so I'll size this a little bit, and now I'm going to put in a message. And when you're working with text, the background color is going to be your text color. And as soon as I begin to try working with text, it's actually interacting with my vector that I've created, this shape. You see how the text follows the shape? I actually don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to go Layers, Merge, Merge All, Flatten. Now my problem goes away if I actually consider that to be a problem. And when I try to put text again, I'm just dropping it straight onto a background now. A little bit simpler to work with. Text size, font, and now I'll have my message. And I'm going to move that over here. And I need to get a picture of my product. What am I going to do? So I'm going to minimize this picture. Actually, okay, I'm ready to take a picture now. I'm going to go to the page that I want, find a picture that looks good. Oh, that one looks perfect. Hotkey, return to my program. Select my image, Control C to copy. navigate back to my other image, and then Control E will paste as a new selection. Although I can see already that doesn't look very good, does it? And so now we're in the realm of image editing that drives noobs absolutely crazy. This is the part that they hate because it starts to not be so intuitive, and in order to do a very simple thing like change the size of this guy and then drop him over here, we got to do some steps that require a lot of digging. You got to know where to go. You got to know what you're doing. I'm going to start out by just going copy, paste. This guy's a new image now. I did that with Control V. That's Control V as in Victor. And I'm also going to clean this up a little bit. Swap my foreground and background. Control right click. Now I have the same white as my background as I see in the picture. And I'm going to select some spots and delete. And as I'm doing this, we see a swatch. And what that means is that it's actually, that part's invisible. But if I go layers, merge, flatten all, boom, that little swatch goes away and everything's back to regular color. And what I'm going to do is stay on my selection tool, and just to make sure that we're on the right color here, we get good results, I'm taking my dropper tool and I'm moving around to see what values show up for RGB. As I move, you'll see that the values are moving around, and that means that this background is not pure white. It's many different shades of white. And so if I try and then copy and paste, oops, I could end up with something like this, or if I try and paste a transparency, see, my transparency is not perfect. I got this funky stuff going on. So we're going to undo. Go back over here. We're going to use the flood fill tool. I'm going to click on my my swatch over here. Click on white. Now I have pure white. And over here I'm going to select my tolerance. And my tolerance, I'm just going to show you exactly what that does. That was 158 tolerance. If I pick a lower amount of tolerance and I click on an area, then whatever that area was that I clicked on, whatever cell I selected, the program looks and says, okay, well, that's my color, and I'm going to just flood fill everything that is within a certain tolerance of that color, of right where I was when I did that, when I did my flood fill. I'm going to pick a tolerance of 18, and I'm going to pick this area over here. This is white, or at least close to white. I click, and it really doesn't show any difference until I go back to the selection tool, set my transparency, Control C, Control Shift E as in elephant, and we can see how that changed. Now it looks like down around this bottom area we need to give this one more shot. Now I could either increase my tolerance and click in the same kind of area to do my flood fill, or I can come down here into this lower area and flood fill there. which is what I just did. Control C. This time I'm going to show you paste as a new layer just using the menu tree. So we're going to go Edit, Paste, Paste as Transparent Selection, or Control-Shift-E. So I click that. I can move my mouse around and position this perfectly. Oh, but wait a minute. This is still too big, isn't it? So let's go Control Z. We need to change the size of this. And as I go up or down with the size, I can see there's two areas that show me the zoom setting. I can see it right here in the title, and I can see it over here on the right hand side. And what I'm going to do is adjust the zoom setting until this guy looks like he would fit just about perfect. Let's go a little bit smaller, one smaller. Okay, I like how this looks now. And I can see that from over here I'm at 80% right now. So I go back to my image and then go to my menu, Image, Resize. I'm going to resize at 80%. Click OK. Done. Okay, now I'm back at my selection tool. Control C, Control Shift E. And this guy almost fits. I actually need to go just a little bit smaller. So notice that this image is at 150% zoom. I should have set this one at 100% first. Now I can see, alright. So if I take this one down to 80 one more time, it'll fit just about right. Image, resize, 80%, click OK. Control C, Control Shift E as in elephant. Now I can place this guy. That's just about right. Of course, those words are going to be a problem, so I'm going to go back to my selection tool. Actually, I can just go to down here in my layer tools, go to my words, double click. I can interact with this directly if I want. And it's not doing exactly what I want it to do right now. Giving me a little bit of a challenge, so we'll just wipe it. Merge all the layers. Delete. Let's go back to this guy and drop him in. Set my background to transparent. Control C again. Control Shift E as an elephant. And we'll place him right here. And now I can work with my words. Assuming I'm happy with this, go to Layers, Merge, All, Flatten. In my original example, I have a little caret sign coming out of the image, and this overlaps the navigational menu. Next, I'm going to show you how I did that. Let's go back to our image program. And we're going to select this, paste. We'll start working with this. Dropper tool on the background. We're just moving this over now so we have a little bit more space to work with. Layers, merge, all. Flood fill, background. And now I'm going to go to my dropper tool and get that color of black. Preset shape tool. And we're going to make a little triangle. And depending on how I move my mouse around here, I can get all sorts of different shapes. But maybe I want my triangle to be perfect, right? So if you are ever working with your shape tool and you are faced with the situation of, for example, maybe you want to make a perfect circle, right? But it never comes out perfect. All you have to do is hold down Shift and it comes out perfect for you. And I'm going to do that with my triangle. So triangle, holding down Shift. That's just about right. And now I'm going to begin making some changes to my triangle. I want to rotate it. So here I am. I got my triangle selected. Let's see, Shift R. Nope. Control R. And I can rotate. I want to rotate to the left. That'd be counterclockwise. And let's just do 90 degrees. Rotate a single layer around the canvas center. That looks about perfect. Except that made my triangle disappear. Let's try that again. Put it a little closer to the center and then do that change. Okay, now I have my triangle and it looks nice. I'll move this over here. Dropper tool, flood fill. Zoom in big time and start drawing on top of this. And we're looking pretty good. Scroll back out. I like how this looks. Flood fill, control, gonna do a color drop on that. And I can see some very light changes in my background. I want my background to be all one color, so I'm going to do a flood fill. First, layers, merge, all, fill. And I'll hit this a couple times because I saw a couple spots that all look different. Now I'll move my mouse around. I'm looking at the numbers, RGB, to see if they change. And it all looks pretty consistent. And since it all looks pretty consistent, that means it should be nice and easy for me to go over to my selection tool. I got my background color is already set over here, and I got that on invisible. So I'll select what I want, Control C. Go back to this image, Control Shift E as an elephant. I can just drop this in anywhere I want. Let's clean this image up a little bit. Now I'll paste it in. And we're set. That looks pretty damn good. And it's good enough that if you pass this on to your tech team, they'll be able to do a good job with it and give you results that look nice. There is a lot to know about this program. I don't want to give anybody information overload, or bore you with minor details that don't apply to you. So, I'm going to end this tutorial right at this point, but if you're interested in knowing more about some of the stuff you can do in Paintshop Pro, just stay tuned. I'll do some more tutorials later on that gets a little bit more in depth on image editing. For the rest of this tutorial, I'd like to focus on technical writing and coming up with a good technical document. So let's go back to our previous document where I was and take a quick look at how this is organized. I have the document map open on the left hand side and my styles menu open on my right hand side. Every time that I start a new technical document, I begin by using a template. I just opened up my template now, and the benefit of that is that all of my styles are set in that template. So when I go to make a new document and then I begin to format it with the document map, everything looks consistent. It looks like my other documents, and your tech team will appreciate being consistent like that. That assists clear communication. First, be sure to always slice up web pages and then identify the parts of what you want to talk about. Here we have an example where I have taken a screenshot of something and then I drew a red box around it, around the part that I want to draw attention to and talk about. So over here I say make a gradient. Over here we have an example where our images have watermarks on them, but sometimes they go diagonally, other times horizontally. That's inconsistent, and so I take a picture of that, and I also I use my shape tool to make little arrows to help people understand what I'm talking about. What is diagonal? What is horizontal? So I'm speaking with images as much as possible. It's very beneficial when working with language barriers with your tech team. Over here we have two pictures put together that shows it helps to demonstrate how I want a menu to hover. So if somebody scrolls down on the page, then this menu goes down with it. And so to make this image, I just took a picture of this menu and pasted it down here into blank space. Shape tool used again right here, making circles, perfect circles, which I did by holding down Shift. Sometimes you don't even need words. Look right where my mouse is right now. That's just question marks and an exclamation point, but that's enough to convey a meaning. I'm just going to keep scrolling through my document here. See if we find anything else that might be comment worthy. At times I take pictures of text and then below that I'll indent and then show how that text should change. Alright, I've hit the end of my change request document here. For a basic introduction video, I don't want to get any more complex than I already have. And at this time, I'm not seeing anything new that's even worth mentioning or introducing. And that's good news for you. That means you are prepared, you're ready to start making your own change requests right now. And I encourage you to use the same graphic editing program that I'm using. That way, if you have any questions, you can make a little video for me or take some screenshots. Show me where you're having difficulty, and I'll be happy to help you out and then expand on my video series by answering your questions and throwing that up on YouTube.